a special guest with us here up on the deck, Jody Hauser, comic book writer. I'm so excited because Jody and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm finally getting to interview you with my pals here.
Of mine. I make sure I can get interviewed by you to be fancy enough.
Oh my! You stop. I'll take it. So you're doing a ton of stuff. First, let's just talk about what you're doing at the con, because you're doing a lot of stuff for Marvel.
Yes, I am actually on my first ever Lucasfilm panel, which is later this afternoon, and I am on a panel on Sunday called Powerful Young Women of Disney Publishing, and talking some Star Wars stuff, and I'll be signing at the Marvel booth today at 1 p.m.
Awesome. So if you're coming over to the con, get over here now so you can meet Jody. So I have so many things I want to talk to you about. First of all, I want to talk about Spider-Man.
Oh yes.
Renew Your Vows. It is like one of my dream stories because I loved the Mary Jane Spider-Man connection. I love that story. I mean, it was such a sad ending in real continuity. It's so exciting to see them have a real love story in a real life. What has it been like just getting to dabble in everybody's dream story?
I mean, I think I love getting to write them as a couple who have been together for quite a while, and I feel like, you know, that's not where the drama in their life lives. It's, you know, the stuff that's just, you know, your basic couple hanging out in bed and chatting about things. Like, they have that down pat, but, you know, they're still like the Parkers, and they're still going to have financial trouble because, you know, journalism is not a really shining bright industry these days. And
what do you mean?
I said this in the wrong space. Oh
Danger.
Gosh, sorry. You know, Mary Jane is a business owner, and, you know, like, doing your own small business is hard. You know, and we jumped forward with Annie in high school, and that's a hard time in life. And she's around the same age as Peter when he first got his powers, but, you know, sort of as the second generation hero, you know, her dad's maybe not seeing that she's at a place, the same place he was, and still treating her like she's maybe a little younger. So there's like a lot of the out of costume family drama, but not to the extent that you worry that they're not going to be together, or there's going to be a big divide in the family, because at the end of the day they all love each other and are supportive of each other. There's just, you know, there's always a little bit of friction there.
So you talked about Mary Jane and Peter being the Parkers. Was there any situation, like couple situation, that you really wanted to put them in to explore how these two characters would deal with this, like them arguing over like their seamless order?
Well, one of the most fun issues I did was issue 19. That was the one-shot flashback of the last time they took a vacation together.
I just reread that issue, and it's fabulous.
It's so fun. I just like, and my favorite thing was Scott drew them in like coordinating pajamas.
He was incredible.
Yes, and it was just, I'm just like, this is the most adorable thing. They are so adorable. But yeah, and again, it was like the Parker luck. Of course, like, spoilers, the cruise ship gets attacked by a sea monster, as happens. But yeah, it was just, you know, them having to a little time to be away and to just talk, and at the end there's a nice conversation between the two of them where I feel like they sort of really lay out each other's strengths and why they work so well as a couple. So sort of getting to do that and take that perspective of their relationship was a lot of fun.
Also, thank you just on like a fanfic sort of level of giving Namor a love story with a captain of a ship.
I was just like, Namor gets 2 pages. He's going to show up, kind of be a jerk, and then make out with a random woman. You know, if you have limited space for Namor, it's like you got to fit it all in.
Oh my God, the best.
And he's a handsome man, so.
He is a handsome man.
Spider-Man has been such a prolific, iconic character. How do you keep this relationship so fresh and succeed in keeping it fresh and unique?
I mean, I think part of the fun of being in an alternate universe is the sky's kind of the limit. So I like bringing in other characters to bounce them off of, like, and also just like I get to write Wolverine, and it's not like messing anything else up because Wolverine is like everywhere else except when he's dead.
Well, even when he's dead.
Even when he's dead, he's still everywhere. But yeah, just getting to like see their relationship, because that's one of the fun things I think about, especially Spider-Man, even among the other New York-based heroes, is he just knows everybody. He's like the guy who would come to Comic-Con and just like bump into someone he knew every 5 feet, you know. So just sort of getting to see how integral he is to that scene and just those connections he has with other heroes. That's just like a lot of fun to play with, I think.
That's awesome.
Also, you're playing with some really fun villains. There's a new villain that's showing up. Would you talk a little bit about where the idea for her came from and her lovely color scheme?
The color scheme goes all the art team, which was lovely. But yeah, I mean, it's spiders. Occasionally people who may or may not be clones show up. You know, that's just,
Yeah, it just has to be
it's a
clones,
tradition.
right?
But I mean, I think getting to see from the perspective of parents who are very concerned and protective of their daughter, and knowing that something like this could have happened, you know, it sort of puts a new spin on that. And can't spoil things too much, but it's gonna be a pretty epic ending for this story arc.
Are there a few more issues coming?
Yeah, this arc goes through issue number 23. So.
Oh, awesome.
Nice. So you talk a little bit about the fact that you were doing Lucasfilm, and you also just wrapped your Thrawn story.
Yes.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I'm like old school EU fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't go super deep into it, but I did start with Timothy Zahn's original Thrawn trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's like I went in the bookstore. I'm like, wait, there's Star Wars books
Yeah.
that like
Oh,
take
yeah.
place after the movies. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting to then actually, you know, not only did Thrawn come back into canon, which was amazing,
Yeah.
but then getting to work on the comic and adapt, you know, his origin story was just, I mean, it's a dream. It's insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is that like adapting this character to his first Marvel book? So what were some of the aspects you wanted
It was
to?
a lot of pressure.
I can
just
imagine,
like,
yeah.
because it's, you know, I feel like Timothy Zahn is so instrumental to my love of Star Wars, you know, as much as the movies were, because I was such a big book person as a kid. So books I just really connected with, and they were so integral to my love of so many different franchises. Like I used to read the X-Men books that they put out that sort of had like prose versions of some of the popular storylines. So then when I actually read the comics later on of those when I was a little older, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one. That was in the Xavier files or whatever. So yeah, just getting to bring a character like that from the book who's just so enraptured, fandom just adores him, which I wouldn't have expected as the weird kid reading Star Wars books in school, and just trying to do him justice and do Zahn's work justice
I
was.
didn't know you were doing research.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So later on.
And
Keep going.
I was gonna say I actually just finally met Tim in person this morning, and he's super nice, and he's loved everything the team did with the book, which is kind of the best compliment you can get.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, as a kid, being such a fan of Star Wars and reading them as you grew up, how does it feel to finally like wrap this amazing like solo series that you just did? Like your younger self is just like, what?
yeah, I need a time machine to go back and be like, hey, reread those books a couple more times. You're gonna need it, kid. And I don't think my younger self would be even able to comprehend like. And it's like, by the PS, you're also writing Spider-Man. It's cool. Life's great. There's also going to be more movies, and you're going to adapt one of those into comics too. It's cool.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the perfect
Yeah.
segue.
I did that on purpose.
Ah.
This isn't my first rodeo.
Yeah. So you adapted Rogue One. What was it like getting to work with Lucasfilms? That's such a dream for so many people. Did you get to go up to SF and see the things?
I haven't been to San Francisco, but I did go to the Lucasfilm offices in LA and read the script about 10 days before the movie came out.
Wow.
You know, and
That's
it's
so
like
cool.
there was like armed guards everywhere.
my
I'm
gosh.
sure,
Fingerprint
but you know, but that was just like, that's such a dream to be able to do that. And then I'm watching the movie with my friends who have no idea I'm going to be adapting it, and just trying not to be like, everyone dies. Don't say that. Don't say that. They don't know yet. You can talk about that. Yeah, spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Also, you should have watched it.
Yeah, it's a
It's
great
been out.
movie. Or read the comic adaptation too,
Yeah, there you go. Also,
which
great.
just came out in hardcover
Hardcover,
actually.
yeah.
So it's cool to see like a very nice collected edition of it.
And I know Lucas is really specific on sort of their character looks and all of that. Did you get to work fairly closely with the artist on that kind of stuff, or do they speak more with Lucas?
Yeah, that went more, through the editorial side. But the cool thing with the Rogue One adaptation was they let me pull from different sources. So they sent me the novelization fairly early. So there, and there's scenes in there that weren't in the movie I was able to add in. They let me add some of my own stuff in as well. Which was just insanely
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, right.
And then you get to be canon.
Yeah, one of the first things I really wanted to see in the book that we didn't see in the movie was Bodhi making the decision to carry the message, because that's what sets everything off. And so that was important for me to have him have that conversation with Galen at the beginning of the comic to show, like, no, there's actually going to be some new material in here for you.
Yeah,
So
you've written like some of these backstories, these alternates. Do you enjoy? What is it about like being able to write like origin stories and really give context to these characters that you enjoy? Because I love a good origin story. I love knowing where people came from. So what are some of the things that you look for when you're trying to build an origin story for someone? What are some of the points you want to hit to get that character across?
I think the exciting thing is, especially if it's a character you've known, then Thrawn's a good example of, it's like he's such an integral role in, even in the new canon and like in Star Wars Rebels. But it's like, how did he even get involved in the Empire? Where did he come from? Like, what is the core thing that's driving him to be this, force for the not good guys? So sort of getting to answer a lot of those questions, I think, is a lot of fun. And, just seeing the seeds that are planted early in lives that, lead to the flowering of strange behaviors later on. Just like, that stuff's really interesting to me to dig into and just sort of find the real meat of the characters.
How does your writer mindset go from like writing about like an evil character versus, Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, which is like the most lovable family?
I actually really like having the balance. There's some days where, although to be fair, Thrawn does like one maybe evil thing in the entire course of that book, which is, there's some slaves and he doesn't free them. But the rest of the time, he's like trying to minimize like casualties and loss of life and everything. So he's sort of like, he's a benevolent evil villain.
For the most part,
If they're
The nicest evil you could be.
The nicest evil you can be, yeah.
But, I like having the balance of the bad guys and then, like the most lovable fun. Because, Thrawn is great. He doesn't crack jokes. And meanwhile, I'm writing dad joke Peter Parker edition. So
dad joke Peter Parker, I just want it on a t-shirt.
Which is, that's the best Peter Parker. Let's be fair, Peter's sense of humor is basically dad humor anyway, so if there's a teenage daughter to embarrass, it's even better.
Oh, that's the dream.
That's the dream, right?
Also, you're getting to write another character, Poe Dameron #2 annual.
Yes, and that comes out, I believe, next month.
Yeah, it's very soon.
And that's actually the first non-adaptation Star Wars work I've done.
Oh, wow.
And that's and it was fun to do that character, who is a newer character, and there might be some other familiar faces in there as well.
What can you tease us about this story? What's in the safe zone?
I'm trying to think, because the solicit was very vague. But there will be familiar faces from probably the Star Wars universe.
And probably not other places.
Probably not Spider-Man. That would be really cool.
Spider-Man and Mary Jo were not walking in. This is nice.
That's like kind of a Deadpool.
Yeah.
Walking in wherever I can go.
But it's it's a fun like one and done story, which is a lot of the fun with the annuals is getting to just tell a very self-contained, cool, actiony story. But you'll see like the rest of Black Squadron and some other people.
Yeah. Right. So we're talking a lot about like origin stories in Marvel, but what about your origin story? How did you start as a writer, and how did you get to work for Marvel?
I knew I was going to be a writer when I was about 8 years old, so a lot of it was just like going through school and doing like literary magazine in high school and then going and getting degrees in writing. But the first work I did for Marvel was actually the Avengers No More Bullying anthology, and I wrote a Guardians of the Galaxy story for that, which was a lot of fun because they let me use Angela too, because she was running around with the Guardians at the time, and I got to have them wear really ridiculous disguises because it was set in canon when they're kind of, on the run and hiding out. So, like, Angela's wearing a hoodie, and Star-Lord has an I'm Not Daredevil shirt on, which was credit for that goes to editor Devin Lewis because that was amazing. But Drax's little teeny hat. It was a lot of fun. And then the next thing I did was for the full issue was the Agent May issue for the S.H.I.E.L.D. 50th anniversary. Yeah. Which is, and it was Don't Call Her the Cavalry, which was the best. No, that was the title of the, or I think the Don't Call Her was sort of like the tagline for the book. And she just looks really angry on the cover, just like she knows. And then Max Ride adaptation. I did volumes 2 and 3 for that, which was a lot of fun. I love doing stuff for younger readers, that and the Avengers No More Bullying, because it gives a good intro to comics for younger readers, and hopefully, they become lifelong fans.
So what do you feel, because you've done so many adaptions, but you've also done, your own original stuff kind of coming through now, what do you think it's like between, like, what are the differences sort of having to adapt a story and getting to tell your own story within, like, the Marvel universe?
And I mean, it's even different because, like the Rogue One was a much closer to the original material adaptation than the Max Ride books were, which were, like, very much sort of their own thing in the comics. to me, it's all, at the end of the day, it's just, telling cool stories, and how much you have to work with to start, that varies depending on if you're doing an event book, like, the Shield books.
Oh, yeah.
So, you want everything to be cohesive and connect with what else is going on in the world. So even when it's original material, it's still part of a larger tapestry. So you always sort of have to remember that.
So you always have like the detective strings.
Yeah,
the yarn.
That's what editors are so great, because they're the ones that know all of the secrets that are going on, and they're like, you can't actually use that character because they might be doing a thing somewhere else. So.
Now you've been working so much, and you're doing so much here at the convention. Have you been able to experience it as a fan? Have you been able to visit the booths and like get some stuff for yourself?
Yeah. No, I kind of stopped going to panels at Comic-Con a few years ago. If it's a panel that I'm not on, I'm probably not going to see it. But no, I am taking some time to go around the floor as much as I can, because there's even just saying hi to folks, and getting to see all the cool things that I shouldn't spend money on. I mean, that's the whole point of Comic-Con, really, is like, that is a gorgeous, $1,000 statue I should probably not buy.
Oh, but so fun.
I mean, they are.
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen any cosplayers from any of your books?
I haven't. Oh, here's the funny story, though, because I was at a convention before me coming on to Spider-Man Renew Your Vows was announced, and I was in the bathroom, and I saw someone dressed as Spinneret, and I couldn't say why I was excited, but I was like, oh, Spinneret, and she was just really happy someone knew the character. I'm like, oh, come by my table, I'd love to get a picture, and she, I don't think she ever found the table, and then a couple months later, the book was announced, and I wanted to be like, hi, that's why I was so excited about your cosplay, whoever you were, and it was a really good costume too.
Oh, go find her.
But yeah, I haven't seen any, especially. I mean, I've seen Spider-Man because he's a pretty popular character. People like dressing as him, but I haven't seen any Spiderlings or Spinnerets. So if you're at San Diego, please come to the signing at 1 p.m.
Yeah, go stop over, see what's up.
Speaking of fans, do you have a inspirational story from a fan that's come up to you and talked about your run at Star Wars or Spider-Man?
I don't know if there's anything specifically inspirational, but just I know so many people are really excited about Thrawn, having such prominence and being given the chance to be in a comic, and they've just really, really loved seeing it, and everyone's asking if we're doing Thrawn alliances, so the fact that if people want us to do more is sort of kind of the biggest compliment you can get.
That's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's the fan response, especially for Thrawn, has been just amazing. And again, just the fact so many people love this character and even know who he is is great. But yeah, I think I've had a bigger response to Thrawn even than Rogue One, which was a bit surprising because Rogue One, big sort of mainstream movie, and Thrawn is a little bit more of a niche character. But when fans love a character, they really love a character. Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. I was saying, speaking of loving characters, I was going to ask, I'm sure you got this question, is there a character that in Marvel that you have not written that you're like, I want to stab it?
I would love to write Deadpool.
Yeah.
I would love to do the slightly more twisted version of the humor stuff, because it's just a lot of fun. And I've written AU Wolverine, but it would be fun to write main universe Wolverine because I'm just a fan of the. Oh, and this is a really deep cut, but the MC2 universe where Spider-Girl came from, Wolverine's daughter, Wolverine and Elektra's daughter, Wild Thing.
Oh my
Rena Logan.
That is a deep
she's
cut.
She's kind of just a really. There's definitely, you can tell, like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer influence to her. She's like the girl having like secret adventures in school and like dealing with the mean girl and everything. But it was just like such a fun, like goofy, but it's like she goes to the mall with her mom and they get attacked by ninjas. She like skips school to run to Canada and fight the Hulk. Like, how can you not love a character like that?
That's terrific. Yeah.
Normal Wednesday.
And speaking of that, you are doing the panel sort of targeted for girls and women. Do you have any advice that you would like to share with young female creators that are getting into the business or interested in it?
I would say the best advice for anyone who wants to either do comics or really any creative pursuit is finish what you start. Like, don't jump on another project. Don't keep like rewriting or redrawing the same pages over and over. Get it done. And you can always go back and do revisions. You should go back and do revisions, but the biggest challenge I feel for a lot of people is actually just finishing the story.
That's so true. And everything can be better.
Everything can be better. That's the other thing, though.
It just has to be done.
The advice on the other side of that is perfect is the enemy of finished. So if you keep revising and revising over and over, you need to know when to step aside and let it be its own thing, because you're never going to have the perfect story.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, I think that's very important. Just knowing that you're getting it out and getting that idea out and just on paper and seeing it is just, and seeing like the tapestry of your work is so important, because then you can like say, oh, that goes there, and then that might give you inspiration for more stories and stuff like that. So that's awesome advice. I'm going to take that advice.
And other good advice is like get to know the people who are, you know, starting at the same level as you. Like one of the first people I met who is doing writing in comics and animation is Margaret Scott, who's doing like the writing for Marvel Rising
I just
now.
met her yesterday, and she's incredible.
And I've been friends with her for several years now, because we met in a writing group in LA and kept in touch. So, you know, it's good to have the peers at your level, so you have like the people who are rising up with you. Marvel rising up with you.
Another 10 points.
Nailed it.
And you know, it's like they're the people that you can most relate to at different stages of your career, really. So, and then you have friends who are doing awesome things to be proud of. So,
and to walk around the con floor with.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you take anything from your personal life that inspires you to write on the other comics that you write?
To an extent. There's actually a scene in the aforementioned Spider-Man Renew Your Vows number 19 at the beginning when she's like walking and they have like, you know, it's like the present day thing where she's talking with her dad and they're looking at photos on the computer. I took that from my life because my dad loves photography and he is almost always going through photos when I'm visiting, so we'll like stand by his computer and look at photos. So being able to put in a scene like that for Peter and Annie was like, that was a pretty meaningful thing to add.
Awesome.
Does your dad know this?
I think I told him. I'm pretty sure I told him.
Dad.
I don't think he's right. I don't think he's behind on reading my books, so I don't know if he's gotten to that issue yet. But I think he knows it's in there.
Do your parents get into your stuff? Are they like?
My mom every week is like calling me and like, do you have any books out this week? And she goes to her local comic shop and buys them all, and is like, not every copy. She just buys like one of every book. Like my mom is not artificially inflating my sales numbers, but.
We should ask you, what is your Twitter and where can people find you?
On Twitter, I am Jody_Hauser, and on Instagram, I am Mindy Clips.
Awesome, Jody.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you for having me.